My name is Julia, and I'm 25 years old. 6 months ago, my dad died suddenly. He was the only family I had left. My mom passed away when I was 12, and after that, it was just the two of us. We were close, like a team, so when he passed, my world turned upside down. He left everything he owned to me, his house, his business, and all his savings, but since he'd been married to Helen for 10 years, I thought it was only right to stay with her for a while. I wanted to keep some part of my dad close, and I honestly believed that she and I could grieve together, maybe even grow closer. But I was wrong. At first, Helen acted kind. She told me she was happy to have me around, said it was what Dad would have wanted. I believed her, but soon, her words started to cut deeper. She would say little things that stung, disguised as advice or casual remarks. "I don't know what your father saw in you sometimes," she said one morning while I was pouring myself coffee. "You can't even clean up after yourself." I froze. Even though I knew those dirty dishes weren't mine, I hadn't eaten yet, but instead of defending myself, I stayed quiet. I had learned early on that arguing with Helen only made things worse. At first, I told myself it was just her grief talking. She had lost her husband. Maybe she was in pain too. Maybe she didn't know how to handle it. But over time, I started to notice patterns, mean comments, cold stares, and the feeling that I wasn't welcome. She criticized everything, my clothes, how I spent my time, even the books I read. One day she sneered, "No wonder you don't have a boyfriend. Who would want someone so scatterbrained?" Another time, she said, "Your dad always thought you were too soft, always off in your own little world." Then there were the strange things happening in the house. My favorite coffee mug disappeared one week and showed up later, broken, in the trash. The heat would suddenly drop at night, and when I asked Helen about it, she claimed she hadn't touched the thermostat. I started sleeping in sweaters and socks just to stay warm. I still tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. She was Dad's wife. He had loved her. That had to mean something, right? But then one day, I overheard her on the phone. She didn't know I was in the hallway when I heard her say in a sharp voice, "I told you we'll talk when she's gone." Then she hung up and slammed the door. She? I thought, did she mean me? I shook it off. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe it was someone else. But something inside me felt off. The way she'd been acting wasn't just cold, it was calculated. I couldn't ignore the feeling anymore. I thought back to when I first met Helen. I was 15. She was sweet back then, or at least, she seemed to be. She always smiled at my dad's jokes and told me how lucky he was to have me. I remember thinking, maybe she'll make him happy, and that was all I wanted, for him to smile again after so much pain. But after they married, things changed. She moved into our home and started making quiet digs at me. Nothing big, just small comments that made me feel like I didn't belong. "You're so smart, Julia," she'd say, "but smart girls also need to be more polished." Or, "It's sweet how independent you are, but don't you think it's time you learned to fit in more?" I brushed it off back then. I thought she was just adjusting, but now, I saw it clearly. She had always wanted to push me out. Since moving back in after Dad's death, Helen treated me like an outsider. She controlled the household, from how the furniture was arranged to what we had for dinner. Every time I tried to help or make suggestions, she would shut me down. "You don't understand what it takes to run a home," she'd say, always with that smug tone. But I had just as much right to be here, maybe even more. My dad left this house to me. He wanted me to be secure. He trusted that Helen would respect that, but she didn't. She acted like she was the only one grieving, like I was some unwanted burden. That night, something shifted in me. The unease wouldn't go away. I couldn't sleep. Helen had gone out, and the house was quiet, but that whisper from earlier, "We'll talk when she's gone," kept ringing in my head. And suddenly, I knew I had to do something. I didn't like the idea of going through someone's things, but I had to know. I walked into Helen's room. Her desk was neat, everything in perfect order. Then I saw her laptop. It was open. I hesitated, but my gut told me to look. I clicked on her email. One thread stood out, titled, "Next Steps." It was between her and someone named Paul. My heart pounded as I read the messages. "Paul, she's still there? I thought you'd have handled this by now." "Helen, I told you. These things take time. Stop rushing me. It has to be seamless." "Paul, we don't have time for seamless. The clock's ticking. Do what needs to be done." I kept scrolling, and then I saw the worst message of all. "Helen, Once she's out of the way, everything will be ours. My hands were shaking, my vision blurred. This wasn't just about petty comments or cold behavior. Helen and this Paul were planning something serious, something dangerous. I backed away, closed the laptop, and rushed out of her room, locking myself in mine. I sat on my bed, clutching my phone, trying to breathe. Everything made sense now, the cold, the threats, the way she looked at me like I was just a problem to get rid of. But I wasn't going to let her win. This was my father's house, my life. I had survived losing my mom, survived losing my dad. I wouldn't let Helen take anything else from me. She thought I was weak, but she was wrong. Now, I had proof, and I was going to protect what was mine, starting tonight. I'm going to gather everything I can, emails, recordings, proof of everything, and then I'll go to the police, I told Lila, my voice shaking slightly as the weight of everything settled heavily on my shoulders. But I need more time, just a little more. Be careful, Lila warned. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the worry behind it. Promise me, Julia. I will, I said, though a knot in my stomach told me the danger wasn't over, not even close. The next morning, I woke up to an eerie calm. Sunlight peeked through the curtains, and I could hear Helen humming in the kitchen. It was the same tune she'd been humming the day before, soft but unsettling. When I walked in, she was already at the stove, flipping scrambled eggs onto a plate. She turned to me with a smile, too wide, too forced. You've been looking so tired lately, she said sweetly, setting the plate down on the table. I made breakfast just for you. You need to keep your strength up. I stared at the eggs. The smell, usually comforting, made my stomach turn. I glanced over at the sugar jar, remembering how she had watched me yesterday, how her eyes lingered on every move I made. Something felt off. Thanks, I murmured, trying to act normal. I sat down, picked up my fork, and pretended to eat. I moved the eggs around my plate, careful not to actually taste a bite. I could feel her eyes on me, watching every move like a hawk. As soon as she left the room, I moved quickly. I grabbed a plastic sandwich bag from the pantry and scraped the eggs into it, sealing it tightly. I didn't know for sure if anything was wrong with them, but I wasn't about to find out the hard way. I stuffed the bag deep into my purse. If there was something in that food, I'd get it tested. Later that afternoon, I went through the security footage again, the recordings I'd set up in secret weeks ago. That's when I found it, a new clip. Helen was in the kitchen, pacing back and forth with her phone pressed to her ear. Her voice was low, but sharp. She's still here, she snapped. I've done everything I can to make her uncomfortable, but she won't leave. Then came a male voice, faint but clear. Then stop dragging this out. The lawyer's getting impatient. The longer she's alive, the messier this gets. I felt the air leave my lungs. The longer she's alive. They weren't just trying to get rid of me, they were planning something worse. I sat there in silence for a moment, staring at the screen. The truth was undeniable now. Helen and this man, Paul, were planning to hurt me, or worse. That evening, I called Lila again, my voice trembling. I have enough, I told her. I'm going to the police tomorrow. Good, she said right away, and you're not spending another night in that house. You're coming here, no arguments. I didn't argue. I packed only the essentials, a small overnight bag, my phone, my laptop, and every piece of evidence I had collected. When I told Helen I was going to Lila's for a girls' night, she didn't ask any questions. She just smiled that cold, strange smile and said, "Enjoy your night, Julia. You never know when it might be your last." Her words echoed in my ears all the way to Lila's. That night at Lila's place felt like a safe haven. Her apartment was warm and inviting, the scent of lavender in the air, soft music playing in the background. I hadn't felt peace like this in weeks. "You're safe now," Lila said, handing me a warm mug of tea. "You're not alone in this." I held the cup tightly, the warmth grounding me. "I hope the police believe me," I whispered. "What if they think I'm imagining it all?" Lila looked at me firmly. "You're not. You've done everything right. You have proof. They'll have to take you seriously." The next morning, we went to the police station. My heart pounded the whole time. I handed over everything, the emails between Helen and Paul, the video recordings, even the sealed bag with the scrambled eggs. I told the officer everything from the start, Helen's comments, the strange behavior, the poison I suspected. Detective Morales, a calm woman in her 40s with sharp eyes, listened carefully. She didn't interrupt, didn't dismiss me. She asked precise questions, and when I was done, she looked straight at me and said, "You've done the right thing, Julia. This is very serious. We're going to act on this. I'll get the food tested immediately, and we'll prepare a warrant to search the house. If this all checks out, Helen and this Paul won't get away with what they're planning." A spark of hope flickered in my chest. Later that day, Morales called me back. "You were right," she said. "The food tested positive for a controlled substance. In high enough doses, it could have killed you. We're moving forward with the search warrant. Stay somewhere safe. Keep your phone close." I thanked her and hung up. My hands were shaking. I'd been right, all along. But then, just as I was starting to relax, my phone rang. It was Helen. "Julia," she said, her voice calm and pleasant, like nothing was wrong. "I hope you're enjoying your time with your friend. I just wanted to let you know, I've decided to make some changes around here. You don't need to come back. I've taken care of everything." The words chilled me to the bone. I immediately called Detective Morales. "She just called," I told her. "She said she's taken care of everything." "What does that mean?" "It means she's panicking," Morales replied. "She knows something's off but doesn't know how much you know. Don't worry, we're on it. Just stay where you are." The next morning, I got the call I'd been waiting for. "We executed the search warrant this morning," Morales said. "We found emails between Helen and Paul that support your story. There's also clear evidence of financial tampering involving your father's estate. Both Helen and Paul are now in custody." I couldn't breathe for a moment. "So, it's over," I whispered. "Yes, and thanks to your quick thinking and bravery, you're safe." When I hung up, I finally let myself cry, silent, relieved tears as I sank into Lila's couch. The fear that had wrapped around me for so long finally loosened its grip. Helen and Paul had underestimated me. They thought I was weak. They thought I'd leave quietly. They thought they could scare me into disappearing. But I stayed. I fought. And now, I was free.